Hello and welcome to another Win Daily Show. My name is Michael Rasile. I got my man Ghost here with me, and we are talking about the 9/11 NBA DFS slate. We got a couple games ahead of us tonight, and we are very excited to talk about it. We got a game 7, and we got a game that'll probably define the series or determine another series as well. So it should be a fun night of basketball we have ahead of us. Make sure you click that like button, show us a little bit of love, and please make sure to comment and tell us who you think is going to be the best fantasy player on the slate tonight, and ask us some questions. We're here for 20 minutes. We're here for 25 minutes. We're willing, we're able, we're capable. We'll answer your questions. Ghost crushed all of our props last week, a couple days ago. He was right on all the Raptors. He was right on the Raptors winning and forcing game 7. It got a little shaky there for a second, especially getting to double overtime, but we did it. But Ghost, man, your Raptors are going to game 7. After that game 3, when we kind of all thought it was over, 0.5 seconds left, OG hits that 3. You knew they were back in it, but did you think they'd make it to game 7 at this point?
I had absolute faith in my boys. They've been here before. They did it against the Sixers last year. Granted, a different team, obviously with the claw out there, but it's a team now. You know what? Maybe not a dynasty, considering they've only won one. It's their first one in franchise history. But again, championship pedigree is championship pedigree. These guys have been there before. These Celtics are young, and we'll get to that game. But I'm really excited.
Yes, that is the second game tonight. The NBA did the right thing. They put that game 7 in prime time for everybody, so we can make sure to watch all of it. I'm very excited to talk about that one. Excited to talk about the Clippers and Nuggets game as well. That should be a lot of fun, but we'll see, man. We'll see. I'm rooting for your Raptors. I think it would be great. Buck Foston, man. I'm all about it, dude. I'm all about it. So just to update everybody a little bit. So we do have the Nuggets and Clippers starting at 6:30 tonight. The line is currently at 216, the over-under for the game. So not super high scoring like we saw some of the games in the beginning, with the Clippers favored at 8.5 points. The second game, Boston and Toronto. The line is now -3 to Boston, with the over-under at 204, and that number has come down enough. So I don't think Vegas definitely doesn't think there's going to be too much scoring tonight in either of these games, but I'm going to be here for it. So let's take a look at what we got rocking and rolling. We'll start with this first game, the Clippers and the Nuggets. Talk to me, man. We have a couple very high-priced guys. We have Jamal Murray, unfortunately, going up against Kawhi Leonard. Paul George still not getting any respect. How are you feeling about these 4 playmakers that we have in this first game?
Pretty much for my stance from last game ended up working out great, and you know what, it's always process over results, and it's even better when the process leads to results. But again, I'm sticking to my stance that we had on the last show. That being that, you know what, it starts with the claw and Jokic here. If Denver wants to fend off the Clippers and live to see another day, Nikola Jokic is going to have to go out there and do his thing, and that's exactly what I expect tonight. He's definitely a core play for me tonight, but by no means a lock, given how much interest I have in that second game, and I cannot wait to talk about that one. But if you're going with one of the two Nugget stars, it's definitely the Joker for me. We ended up hitting his over on that Thrive prop to make it 4 for 4 for the night by one last second rebound there. So that was definitely that one was definitely had me worried a little bit. But again, 4 for 4 is 4 for 4. It doesn't matter how we come to it. He's a walking triple double, like I had said last time, and look for him to pretty much have the ball in his hands the entire game. Jamal Murray, man, with Patrick Beverley up in his face, and Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. I mean, he went from Donovan Mitchell and exchanging 50-point performances to pretty much not catching a single break every time that he's out there. So on the Denver side, it's Jokic or nobody at that top end range. And for the Clippers, you can't go wrong with either Kawhi or Paul George. Paying 10-4 for Kawhi tonight is a little bit much for me, considering how much interest I have again in that game 7. But don't be scared of what Paul George ended up doing last game. If you're making lineups based on looking at box scores and you're looking at game logs on either DraftKings or FanDuel, I can promise you that the success that you may have will never be sustainable, right? So just like a guy can go off for 60 and you're like, oh, I'm going to plug him into my lineup, or the same thing goes for on the flip side of that script. And you know what, if Paul George didn't have as good of a game as you wanted for your lineup last time, doesn't mean that you just cross him off on tonight's slate. He's definitely a guy at 8,400 that can be in the optimal lineup.
I love that. Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, there's A lot of props out there already if Kawhi and Paul George both score over 30 points, which isn't really too crazy considering what they've been able to do so far. And Paul George figuring out how to actually exist in the playoffs outside of those first few games in that Dallas series. He's been looking pretty damn good so far. So let's talk about this mid range. I mean, it goes from Jamal Murray, nice steep drop off, and then we're already in the 5K range. Where are you looking to grab a little value? Again, it's a 2-game slate, so we have to find some of that value, especially if we want to grab the Joker, especially if we want to grab Kawhi Leonard and then some of those other guys from the second game we'll talk about.
So we'll start with the Nuggets here. Pretty much remains that same trio with an honorable mention to Paul Millsap, simply because of the absolute man crush that Mike Malone seems to have on him, giving him valuable minutes when, I don't know, this guy's like 45 years old, like 20 years past his prime. So like I don't get it, but it is what it is. We'll start with the highest priced player there, and that's Michael Porter Jr. If you tuned into the show last week, not only do I really appreciate it, and Michael appreciates it, but you would have heard that I was expecting big things from him in this series. He's been providing a spark off the bench for them, and that's exactly what he did last game. But that being said, what happened post game is something that does worry me, not only for the Nuggets and their locker room chemistry, but for MPJ's place in my DFS lineups tonight. For those of you that missed it, he pretty much got asked the question saying, what do you guys have to do to beat the Clippers? Do you need to get more players involved on the offense? And he pretty much threw his coaching staff and Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic under the bus by saying that, you know what, they've been going to Joker and Maul the entire time. And while they're two great players, we need to get more guys involved on the offense. That is something that I don't want to say it's rule number one in sports. There could be a lot of things that could be argued to be rule number one, but it's definitely close to the top that is just an absolute no-go.
Yeah.
You saw what Damian Lillard had to say about that after. I don't want to push it to say that they might be shopping him this offseason to that point, but that was not a good look for Michael Porter Jr. For a guy that's pretty much coming off a near career-ending injury post-draft year, and you know what, he's had a good rookie year, and he's a very talented individual. I mean, you heard my hot take saying that he absolutely baptized Montrezl Harrell a couple days ago, but again, extremely talented individual, but there's absolutely no place for that in the locker room and no place for that in basketball, period. So be wary of Michael Porter Jr.'s minutes tonight. If his shot is off, if he continues to run around the defensive end with like a chicken with his head cut off, don't be surprised if he grabs a spot on that bench and doesn't move for the rest of the game. And you're looking at vintage Paul Millsap getting some extra run here, along with Jeremy Grant, who are two guys that can definitely pull their weight on both sides of the court. And with Denver looking to kind of rejuvenate their offense here, given Jamal Murray's, again, I don't want to say his struggles, because we can talk all day about those defensive matchups, but they're going to have to tighten it up on the defensive end. And Jeremy Grant and Paul Millsap give them exactly that, while Michael Porter Jr. does the complete opposite of that game plan. So I wouldn't be surprised to see them run Jeremy Grant at the 3 a little bit, with Gary Harris at the 2 and Paul Millsap at the 4 to go along with Maul and Joker. So again, I'm definitely taking some shots on Michael Porter Jr. simply because he's probably the most talented Denver Nugget behind Maul and Joker. But again, with everything that I just said, be careful with his minutes tonight, because I know that I've been in locker rooms like that before. Well, hockey locker rooms, at least. I never played basketball, but I've been in some high level hockey rooms, and stuff like that does not fly with the coaching staff, let alone with your teammates. So do not be surprised to see MPJ grab a spot on the bench tonight. You also heard me mention Gary Harris, of course. He's up there in minutes and his usage is back to normal. Definitely a go. For the Clippers, Lou Williams doesn't really interest me all that much, simply because of his high price tag. I much prefer another target in that second game that I'll get to in a little bit. You can always go back to Ibaka Zubac if you're not paying all the way up for Joker at center. There's another target again that I want to talk about in that second game, but again, at 5,000, he's a guy that continues to see 18 to 22 minutes with Montrezl Harrell still not in game shape, and JaMychal Green has been seeing, maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So Zubac is definitely due for his 20 plus minutes, and he's out there when he starts, and he always starts off game strong. So he's somebody that definitely caught my eye. And way down to the bottom, you can always take a shot on the 3 Clippers that are there in Montrezl Harrell, Patrick Beverley, and JaMychal Green. I feel much safer with Patrick Beverley being there in my lineup because of how low his price tag is, and given his involvement on both ends of the court. I mean, offensively, he's not a guy that's going to drop 20 points or 20 actual points,
Mhm.
But again, to get to 20 DraftKings points, a couple steals, couple blocks, he's a virtual lock for that every single game. And he's been rebounding really well too. So he would be the one of the three that I had just mentioned that definitely sticks out to me. And you know what, 2 game slate, anything goes. You got these contests with I think the big tournament on DraftKings has like 27,000 people in it. I'm not going to talk you off guys like Montrezl Harrell or JaMychal Green. I do prefer the latter. But again, with Montrez there at 4,300, why not throw him in a couple if you're maxing out this tournament?
Exactly. You got to get it in there, and I love your take on Michael Porter Jr. I do think that if his shot drops, I think he'll be in that lineup. I think if they'll give him a couple chances, once that shot stops dropping, I think he's very quickly out of the game. And yeah, I don't think they'll trade him in the offseason. He's way, way, way too damn good to just give up on him like that. But I'm sure he had a stern talking to. This isn't the first time he said some pretty wacky stuff in the bubble here. So we're just gonna move on. We're gonna go to it. We got game 7. We got your Raptors against the Boston Celtics. I hope most people are rooting for the Raptors. Unless you're a Celtics fan, why are you rooting for the Celtics, man? So it should be fun. Cool. It's like it's like this weird redemption story, right? Like you lose Kawhi Leonard, but you still have the chance to make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. There's that whole thing. All of a sudden, Kyle Lowry went from being just a GOAT in the playoffs to all of a sudden being just this animal and feels like he doesn't miss a shot. And he's this incredible team leader. Only a couple years ago, we were talking about him taking a walk into the locker room for whatever reason, because LeBron was putting him and DeMar DeRozan in the spin cycle all the time. So that was always fun. But he's back and we're good. And hopefully those Raptors take it home. So let's talk about especially this top part of the slate. I mean, very much different looking than the previous game. No 10Ks, only one 9K. We still have Jason Tatum. We have Kyle Lowry. We have Mr. Brown as well, and Fred VanVleet, of course. Talk to me about these top guys, and we'll even throw Siakam and Walker in there as well. Talk to me about these guys here, because I think they obviously are going to be the ones that we're paying attention to. And with that Vegas number, that's the thing that worries me a little bit. The Vegas number went from 10 or 208. It now came down to 204, meaning everybody is hammering the under, which means I don't think there's going to be too much scoring. But you really believe in this game, so talk to me a little bit, Ghost.
Absolutely. You can't really blame. I don't know if it's the sharps or the public that are end up dragging that line down, but again, these are two of the best defensive two of the best defensive teams in the entire NBA, right? So expect a tightly contested battle, but again, I'm gonna practice what I preach here and just reiterate what I had said in Game 6. Expect an extremely tight rotation from both sides. If you're looking at the minutes, which I wanted to pull up here for Toronto, you had Pascal played 54, OG played 50, Lowry played 53, VanVleet played 51. Of course, that game going into overtime. For the Celtics, Jaylen Brown played 51, Tatum 51, Tice 47, Walker 52, and Marcus Smart played 50. Look for both starting fives of these teams to virtually never leave the court. Look for Toronto to pretty much run a 6-man rotation with Ibaka getting some run in there as well, and Marcus Gasol. So you might find a 6 to 7-man rotation. And for Boston, I could see maybe Brad Wanamaker, Robert Williams getting maybe 10 to 12 minutes apiece. But this game has starting 5 for each team written all over it. As Aaron Rodgers would say, Jason Tatum is a bad man. That was quite a performance in Game 6. I'm expecting more from that of him. He looked absolutely electric out there. He had his mid-range going. He had the 3-point shot going. He was driving to the hoop. He was drawing fouls all over the place. He was an absolute force to be reckoned with. And Pascal looked like he was pretty much searching for help, no matter where he was on the court, right? So Jason Tatum makes for an interesting pivot off Kawhi, because 9,500 for Jason Tatum is a pretty penny to pay, with Kawhi sitting there less than $1,000 more expensive. But again, given the intensity of this game, I really like Jason Tatum in this spot, along with Jaylen Brown and, of course, Cardiac Kemba. Everyone knows what he did over in college basketball for UConn, and what he's able to do in that clutch moment. So again, those three definitely take the cake for me at the top of the range for the Celtics. For the Raptors, it starts and ends with that backcourt duo again. My boys Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet. Kyle Lowry recently just tied Vince Carter for the most 30-point performances in elimination games, and you know what? He's really looking to build on his legacy. He's arguably one of, if not the most important player in franchise history right now, given that they won the title. And you know what? It would be a heck of a story to see them take on Kawhi and the Clippers in the finals and see them go at it. So you know what? They have that championship pedigree. They've been here before. They had that game 7 against the Sixers last year. I'm really expecting some big things from Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet, and both of them are criminally underpriced on a slate like this. I was expecting Kyle Lowry to be at least 9.2, and Fred VanVleet for some reason continues to be disrespected, sitting at under 8K. So I love firing both of them up, and of course, of those three, you know that Pascal Siakam ends up dropping a bit for me. You've heard me talk about it time and time again against his struggles against Boston, not only in this series, but in his entire career. Jason Tatum has him locked up. Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart are exceptional defenders. So Pascal Siakam definitely takes a backseat for me.
Yeah, and we had the under on Pascal Siakam's 20.5 points in that prop on our prop plays over at Thrive Fantasy, which we'll be getting to in a second, where Ghost went 4 for 4 and could have helped you win. I don't know, you put in $10, you would have won 111, so it's not too bad, or $110. There we go. But no, it is pretty impressive. The fact that they're so cheap, Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet, knowing that they're gonna play 46 minutes of a 48-minute game. I mean, and they're always going to have the ball in their hands, and they're both scrappy dudes. So they're going to get some steals. They're going to get, maybe a block here or there. They're going to get some rebounds. It makes no sense why they are so cheap. And, even though, so one thing we always like to do is we like to really pay attention to the more higher scoring games, because that means there's more opportunity for points. At least that's what Vegas thinks. And we like to believe what Vegas thinks. And then that gives the opportunity to the players. But we also have to understand in a game like this, where even though it is a lower scoring total, the usage and the minutes are going to be so much higher for all of these starting fives. You're completely right. There's going to be a couple minutes here and there scattered. Maybe they go 7 deep at one point in the game, but that is probably about it. Not too much outside of the starting rotation. So understanding that, and obviously with Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, we know where they sit. We love Kyle Lowry, we love Fred VanVleet. Where are you looking to find a little bit of value on this slate? I know we love Daniel Tice. We know what OG's done, but I don't know if he's worth playing at that price. Norman Powell, again, maybe talk to me a little bit about where we can find some value on this slate in case we do want to stick, a Kawhi Leonard or a Paul George on this rotation, on this roster that we have growing here.
In the mid-range, I would definitely consider Marcus Smart one of my priorities there. Sitting at 6,800, he's a guy that was absolutely fired up towards the end of that game 6, starting a little bit of a scuffle after that, and he's a fierce competitor from his days in college and whatnot. So he's a guy that I'm looking at strongly in my main lineup right now, and I'm going to have a ton of exposure in my 150 max fields, and he's definitely going to. I don't want to say definitely, because I'm probably going to tinker before lock, but right now he's a focal point in my main and 3 max main lineup there for sure. He's a guy that can triple double. He's passing the ball well. He's got his 3-point shot going all series long, and he's an absolute force on the defensive end too. So couple blocks, couple steals. He's a guy that contributes in all facets of the game. So Marcus Smart's definitely my priority there, sitting at 6,800, and he actually makes for a good pivot off Kemba if you're not playing Kemba as well. You mentioned OG, sitting at 59. He's a little bit expensive now for my liking. I was very comfortable playing him when he was in that 4,800 to 5,200 range. But again, sitting at 59, you're probably going to need at least 36 to 40 from him to end up taking out in GPP, or at least be in consideration. And that ends up being very close to his ceiling. And he's going to be a clear-cut number 3 option, maybe even number 4 if Pascal ends up doing anything on the offensive end tonight there. Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet are going to soak up the entire usage and the entire offensive game there. So OG is going to have to get his points in other facets of the game, which he can do exceptionally well. He's been rebounding really well, and he's one of the most improved 3-and-D wings probably in the NBA bubble. So he's a guy that could definitely contribute for your lineup. But again, at 5,900, a little bit expensive for my liking. Daniel Tice is there. So what I do like about Daniel Tice tonight as well is that he's center eligible. So if you're not going all the way up to Joker because you want to attack this second game like I do, Daniel Tice ends up slotting in very nicely into that center position, which is the beauty of having multi-positional eligibility over on DraftKings. Again, Serge Ibaka is probably going to be that 6th man in the rotation, maybe 7th, depending on his health. We saw last time that I ended up calling out one of Norman Powell or Chris Boucher. We'll see extended run. It ended up being Norman Powell with Chris Boucher not seeing the floor, and it worked out really well. You know what? They ended up playing Siakam at the 4 a lot, and Norman Powell ended up producing a lot despite my frustration with him having the ball in his hands. And at the end of first OT, I was cursing at my TV with I think it was like 12, 13, maybe 14 seconds left on the clock, and this guy's just dribbling it and tries to take a step back three. I was losing my mind. But with Kyle Lowry being so hot in that game, and Fred VanVleet was knocking down some shots too, I was utterly shocked to see him take the last shot. But again, he was a guy that got a ton of minutes there. I think he was nearing 40. So again, he was producing on the offensive end. And you heard me say it all playoff bubble: do not play Norman Powell because it's a trap. His price kept going down, and you know what? We nailed it every time. But last game was the first time that I was on him, and you know what? Thankfully for us, it ended up working out very well. But tonight, he's probably going to be the highest owned value play on the entire slate. So if you're playing cash, definitely lock him in. GPP, he might have the highest ceiling out of that entire 4K range. So you're definitely going to want to look at him if you're plugging in some of these higher price players like Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet. Lower than that, I'm probably not considering anybody, to be honest with you. Like I had said, Robert Williams and Brad Wanamaker, I'd be shocked if they got anything more than maybe 12 to 15 minutes tonight. The only chance that I see that is maybe somebody getting hurt, but you never want to wish that upon somebody in a game seven. Even with me being a Raptors fan, I mean, you just don't do that in sports. And other than that, even if somebody gets into foul trouble, these guys are not going to leave the court tonight. So guys like Robert Williams and Brad Wanamaker are not in consideration for me in my main or 3 max tournaments. But again, in the 150 maxes where you pretty much want exposure to everybody, I would try and limit it to maybe 10 to 12%. I mean, you don't want to go crazy. Like considering you have 150 lineups, 10%, you're like, oh, that's low, but it's actually 15 lineups with a guy like Brad Wanamaker or Robert Williams who could get you maybe 5 to 10 points. So you don't want to go nuts and end up going overweight on the field on them. So be careful of the value pieces in this game other than Norman Powell.
Yeah, this game, as we've been talking about, especially with last game, when you see multiple players from both teams go over 50 points or over 50 minutes, even in a double overtime game, that means they sat of the 58 possible minutes. I think you said what Kyle Lowry was at 53 minutes. He sat 5 minutes out of 58, which does not happen too often. So we understand what's on the line. Obviously, game 6 yesterday or a couple days ago, game 7 tonight, and we are very excited for it. So Ghost, we appreciate the heck out of you breaking all this down for us as always, but we need to get to some more fun. So last time we had you on, we had a little Thrive Fantasy. So our partners over at Thrive Fantasy, a lot of fun. You get to play with player props, which is pretty great. Do you think someone's going to score more or less than this number? Do you think they're going to have more rebounds than this or that? So it's a lot of fun. And what we like to do is we want to help our friends over here on the internet understand a little bit more about Thrive. So we're going to give you some winning picks. We gave you 4 winning picks. That's the max you can get to, times 11 your money. So if you went there, so what you can do, go to thrivefantasy.com. Use promo code WINDAILY. They'll give you up to $250 matching bonus. So you put in $250, they give you $250, and then your friends over here at Win Daily are going to give you 3 months for free of our gold membership. That's Ghost in all of his articles. That's all of our projections and our projection models that have been crushing it. That's everything for the NFL. In case you guys didn't know, the NFL started yesterday, and it's going to be coming around real heavy this Sunday. So it's 3 months free. You get our expert Discord chat where if you have any questions, you can just email them, or not email them. What is this, like 1999? You send a direct message right to Ghost and you say, hey, what should I do? How do you like this lineup? And he can help you out and get you into the money as he does all the time. So let's look at some of these props. Just want to make sure everybody knows you go 2 for 2. You win 3.6 times your money. You go 3 for 3. You win 6.2 times your money. You go 4 for 4, as we did last time. You win 11 times your money. So what we're going to do here is we're going to give you 2 that we're locking, that we're very, very confident in, that we think there's no question they don't hit. We're going to give you a 3rd that we're feeling frisky on, and then a 4th that if we're feeling real frisky. And again, we're not trying to lose money for people, right? We don't want you to lose money, but that's why we give you 2 that we're locking. And we're going to give you another 2 just in case we crush it as we did last time, so you can win a bunch of money. Again, that's thrivefantasy.com. Use promo code WINDAILY, up to $250 matching bonus, 3 months free of WinDailySports.com. That's a $90 value, all because you played and won money over at Thrive Fantasy. So, my man Ghost, talk to me a little bit. Where are we going with this first lock of the night on thrivefantasy.com?
We're going all the way to the bottom. You already know this one.
Oh, goodness. They make it too easy for us, man. How could they do that? It's too easy. All right, let's lock it in. That was easy. All right, one done.
If you feel like you need an explanation for that one, guys, please rewind. I've been talking about Fred VanVleet over 30.5 PRA, points, rebounds, assists for virtually every show. I mean, I don't understand. The guy's going to get maybe 47 minutes and 59 seconds on the court tonight. I don't see how he doesn't hit over 30.5. It just,
Yes,
I don't need a bigger explanation than that.
we're good to go. All right, where are we going for the second one?
This one's going to be a little bit more interesting, but I still consider it one of the strongest props that are out there. I'm going over 4.5 assists for Marcus Smart.
For Marcus Smart. All right. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. I like that one. That's an interesting one. Thanks, friends over Thrive. Again, thrivefantasy.com, promo code WinDaily. I see one here that we smashed last time and it worked. And now they're even giving us assists this time on Daniel Theis. Last time I think it was 17.5 points and rebounds for Daniel Theis. Now they're giving us 19.5. They're giving us an extra 2 assists on top of it. How do you feel about are the assists throwing you off? Do you think he's going to smash that double-double again? What do you got?
The assists don't really give too much value to a guy like Daniel Theis. He's not exactly a passing big man. He usually ends up being on the receiving end of that. So look for him to maybe get 1 or 2 assists tonight. So it kind of explains the bump. I think we got it at 17.5.
Yep.
I think you're right for points and rebounds. So it ends up being right in line with pretty much what he's averaging to go 19.5. For a frisky play, I definitely do like it. Again, a 10 and 10 double-double is something that's definitely achievable for Daniel Theis in this matchup. And with the amount of minutes that he's going to play, absolutely. I do like the over there.
I like it. So are we just sticking with the second game, or are we going to give any love to the first game, or are we pretty much just saying no, we want more minutes?
I will kind of as an honorable mention at the end, but
Okay.
my fourth one ends up being OG Anunoby over 6.5 rebounds.
I love it. And in case you guys were wondering, Ghost always takes the overs because life is way too short to play the under. Where's the fun? Where's the fun in that? All right. So we do, I mean, again, it makes sense. These guys are going to be on the court for significant periods of time. And I love the opportunity and the way you're thinking about it because, hey, if they're going to be on the court for 45 minutes of a 48-minute game, there's more opportunities for points, rebounds, and assists, of course. So I think we're going to smash the over on all of them. And I love that. Give me that honorable mention, though. I'm kind of curious. We didn't show too much love to that first game. Granted, you're a Raptors fan, so I can't blame you. But talk to me. Where's our honorable mention?
That's it. So I did want to not leave the first game out altogether. So I'll kind of throw it in there, something to consider. If you end up making your lineups based on game theory, you might as well keep the train rolling and you know what, bet some props on Thrive Fantasy with some game theory. You have 2 that are sitting there back to back, and Paul Millsap and Michael Porter Jr. That if one of them happens, the other one's probably going to happen as well. So Paul Millsap over 9.5 points and assists is something that seems very low, but it's quite deceptive. He can be a guy that, again, if Michael Porter Jr.'s shot is dropping and they just end up tuning out his little tantrum that he had there in front of the mic last game, and you know what, they just say, hey, you know what, his talent is undeniable. We need him out there to kind of win this game and whatnot. Then Paul Millsap's 9.5 ends up being kind of untouchable at that point because you don't really, you know, you're like, okay, Michael Porter Jr. is going to play, but then Paul Millsap is 9.5 is basically nothing. So you're like, okay, no, I might not touch that one. But then in that case, you probably want to go over 19.5 for Michael Porter Jr. But if you end up thinking Michael Porter Jr. is pretty much going to ride pine the entire night, where this guy's going to end up taking a seat on the bench with a towel over his head because of what he said, and his shot's not dropping or his teammates are not giving him the ball, kind of, I don't want to say out of like pity and stuff like that. These guys are professional basketball players. They're all there to win a championship. But if you end up playing that kind of narrative, Paul Millsap will be a beneficiary there, and he will see way more minutes than he did in that game 4, right? So at 9.5, it's really low. Most people are going to end up taking the over there, so be careful with that. But again, if you're playing that theory where Michael Porter Jr. ends up sitting out or he ends up getting the short end of the stick, Paul Millsap will be the primary beneficiary. And at that point, 9.5 is just way too low.
It's too easy. So those are our honorable mentions. So just in case, take that information as you will. We are locking here in just a couple minutes, but I do want to remind everybody that our absolute locks of the night, Fred VanVleet over 30.5, and we got Marcus Smart over 4.5 assists. We want to get a little frisky. We take OG over 6.5 rebounds, and we take Daniel Theis over 19.5 points, rebounds, assists. Please, again, go to our friends over at thrivefantasy.com. Use promo code WINDAILY, up to $250 matching bonus. We give you 3 months for free at Win Daily Sports Gold membership, all access. You get our articles, you get our expert Discord chat, you get our projection model, you get everything that you need to win a bunch of money. And then Ghost will help you win even more money on Thrive Fantasy. So why the heck not? So thank you all so much for everyone over here at Win Daily Sports. Ghost, where can everyone find you on the internet?
At DFS_Ghost over on Twitter. And like Michael has said, in the Discord chat of Win Daily Sports, make sure you come and join the family.
Come and join the family. You can find me at Michael Rasile1. You can find us at Win Daily Sports, windailysports.com. Last 2-game slate of the NBA season, game 7 tonight. I guess, Ghost, I got to ask. Raptors taking it home?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I love the confidence, brother. I can see you shaking, but I love the confidence. So thank you for everyone over here. For Ghost,
they're taking it.
For myself, for everyone over here in the Win Daily Sports family. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we hope you all make it a very